The smell hit me first. Not the usual mix of floor cleaner and teenage body spray that clung to Roosevelt High's hallways, but something else. Something that made my stomach turn and my eyes water. I'd been mopping the same section of the main corridor for 20 minutes, and the smell kept getting stronger. My name is Vince Kowalski, and I've been cleaning this school for 8 years. 8 years of scrubbing gum off desks, plunging toilets, and listening to my footsteps echo through empty hallways. I thought I'd seen it all until 3 weeks ago when Principal Martinez handed me a folded piece of paper along with my usual work assignment. "New protocols, Vince," she said, not meeting my eyes. "Corporate policy changes. Just follow these exactly and everything will be fine." I unfolded the paper that night and read 5 simple rules. 1. Never enter the gymnasium after midnight. 2. If you hear the PA system, ignore it completely. 3. The 3rd floor is off limits during cleaning hours. 4. Don't look directly at the trophy case in the main hall. 5. If a student asks for help, call security immediately. The last rule seemed the strangest. Students shouldn't be in the building during my shift, which ran from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. But I'd learned not to question corporate policies. I needed this job. My daughter Emma was starting college in the fall, and every paycheck mattered. The first week following the rules felt almost normal. I avoided the gymnasium after midnight, which was easy since I usually cleaned it first anyway. The PA system stayed silent. I kept my eyes down when I passed the trophy case, focusing on the floor tiles instead. The 3rd floor was locked anyway, so that rule seemed pointless. But tonight was different. Tonight, the smell was making me dizzy. I squeezed out my mop and tried to figure out where the odor was coming from. It reminded me of the time Emma left a sandwich in her backpack over summer break. Sweet and sour at the same time, with an undertone that made my throat close up. I followed the smell down the hallway, my cart squeaking behind me. The scent led me to locker 247. I'd cleaned around these lockers hundreds of times, but I'd never noticed this particular one before. The metal was the same institutional green as all the others, but something about it looked different. Newer, maybe, or older. I couldn't tell which. I leaned closer to the vents at the top of the locker. The smell was definitely coming from inside. My hand moved toward the combination lock without thinking. "Mr. Kowalski?" I spun around so fast my mop bucket tipped over, sending dirty water across the floor. A girl stood about 10 feet away, maybe 16 years old, wearing a Roosevelt High Letterman jacket. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a ponytail, and she was holding a stack of books against her chest. "Sorry, I didn't mean to startle you," she said, smiling. "I'm Bethany Morrison. I left my chemistry textbook in my locker, and I have a test tomorrow morning. Could you help me get it?" My mouth went dry. Rule number 5 echoed in my head. If a student asks for help, call security immediately. "How did you get in here?" I asked, pulling my phone from my pocket. "The building is locked." "I came in through the back entrance by the cafeteria," Bethany said, tilting her head. "The door was propped open. I do it sometimes when I forget stuff. The night security guard knows me." I hit the speed dial for security. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times. No answer. "Is something wrong?" Bethany asked. She took a step closer, and I noticed her shoes didn't make any sound on the wet floor. "I just need to get my book. It'll only take a second." The phone went to voicemail. I tried again with the same result. "Look, I'm sorry, but I can't help you," I said, backing away from her. "You need to leave the building. School policy." Bethany's smile faltered. "But Mr. Kowalski, I really need that book. My mom will kill me if I fail another test." She knew my name. I'd never seen this girl before in my life, but she knew my name. "How do you know who I am?" I asked. "Everyone knows you," she said. "You've been here forever. You're part of the school." Something in her tone made me take another step back. I bumped into my cart, and the cleaning supplies rattled. "I'm calling the police," I said, dialing 911. No, Bethany said, and her voice changed. It became flat, emotionless. No, you're not. The call wouldn't connect. The phone showed full bars, but every number I tried gave me the same result. Nothing. My locker is 247, Bethany said, pointing to the same locker I'd been investigating. Right there. The combination is 1532-8. Could you please open it for me? I looked at the locker, then back at her. I'm not opening anything for you. You need to leave. But I can't leave without my book, she said. I told you, my mom will kill me. The way she said kill me made my skin crawl. There was something wrong with her voice, like she was speaking through a mouthful of water. Listen, kid, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I don't know how you got in here, but you need to go now. Bethany sighed. Fine, I'll get it myself. She walked over to locker 247 and started turning the combination lock. 15 right, 32 left, 8 right. The lock clicked open. The smell that had been bothering me all night poured out of the locker like a physical thing. I gagged and covered my nose with my shirt. Bethany seemed completely unaffected. Here it is, she said, reaching into the locker. My chemistry book. What she pulled out wasn't a textbook. It was a composition notebook, the kind elementary school kids use. The cover was stained with something dark and sticky. This isn't a chemistry book, I said. Sure it is, Bethany replied, opening the notebook. See? All my notes are in here. She held the notebook toward me, and I saw that the pages were covered in what looked like crayon drawings. Stick figures with enormous heads and too many arms. Houses with windows that looked like eyes. Trees with branches that curved downward like fingers. Those aren't chemistry notes, I said. Of course they are, Bethany said, looking confused. What else would they be? I stared at her, and for the first time, I really looked at her face. Her skin was pale, almost gray, and her eyes were too bright. When she blinked, it took too long, like she was doing it manually instead of automatically. You're not a student here, I said. Yes, I am, she insisted. I'm a junior. I play volleyball. I'm in the Honor Society. I've been here for 3 years. What's your homeroom teacher's name? Mrs. Patterson, she said immediately. There's no Mrs. Patterson at this school. Bethany's smile became wider, showing too many teeth. There is now. I grabbed my cart and started pushing it toward the main entrance. I didn't care about the spilled mop water or the cleaning supplies scattered on the floor. I just wanted to get out of there. Mr. Kowalski, wait! Bethany called after me. You can't leave. Your shift doesn't end until 7. I kept walking. The exit was maybe 50 feet away. I could see the glass doors and the parking lot beyond them. You still have to clean the gymnasium, Bethany said. Her voice was getting closer. And the cafeteria. And the library. I reached the doors and pushed. They didn't budge. I pushed harder, throwing my shoulder against the metal frame. Nothing. The doors are locked from the outside, Bethany said. She was standing right behind me now. You know that. They lock automatically at midnight. I spun around. That's not true. I have a key. Do you? She asked. Check your keychain. I pulled out my keys with shaking hands. The ring held my car key, my house key, and my mailbox key. The school keys were gone. Looking for these? Bethany asked, holding up a set of keys I'd never seen before. They were old and tarnished, with numbers etched into the metal. Those aren't mine, I said. They are now, she replied. Rule number 6. You can't leave until your shift is over. There are only 5 rules, I said. Check your paper. I pulled the folded sheet from my pocket. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely read it, but there it was, written in the same font as the other rules. 6. You can't leave until your shift is over. That wasn't there before, I whispered. Wasn't it? Bethany asked. Are you sure? I stared at the paper. The sixth rule looked exactly like the others, printed in the same blue ink on the same letterhead, but I knew it hadn't been there before. I'd memorized those 5 rules. I need to call my wife, I said, reaching for my phone. No, you don't, Bethany said. Your wife is sleeping. She doesn't want to be disturbed. How do you know my wife? I know everyone you know, Mr. Kowalski. I know about Emma and her college applications. I know about your mortgage payment that's due on the 15th. I know about the doctor's appointment you've been putting off because you're scared of what he might find. I backed away from her until I hit the doors. What do you want? I want you to do your job, she said. Clean the school, follow the rules. Everything will be fine if you follow the rules. And if I don't? Bethany's smile disappeared. Then Emma doesn't go to college. Then your wife doesn't wake up tomorrow morning. Then your doctor's appointment becomes unnecessary. The threat was clear, but it was the way she said it that made my blood freeze, like she was reading from a grocery list. You can't do that, I said. Can't I? She asked. Look at rule number 7. I looked down at the paper. A new line had appeared. 7. Disobedience has consequences. Stop, I said. Stop adding rules. I'm not adding anything, Bethany said. The rules were always there. You just weren't ready to see them all at once. I crumpled the paper and threw it on the floor. I quit. I'm done with this job. Pick up the paper, Mr. Kowalski. No. Pick it up. Something in her voice made me look at her again. Her eyes had changed. They were completely black now, like looking into deep water at night. Pick up the paper, she repeated. My hand moved without permission. I bent down and grabbed the crumpled sheet, smoothing it out against my chest. The words were still there, but now there were 8 rules instead of 7. 8. You cannot quit. There, Bethany said, her normal voice returning. Now we can continue. I wanted to run, but my feet wouldn't move. I wanted to scream, but my throat had closed up. All I could do was stand there and stare at this girl who wasn't a girl, holding a piece of paper that kept changing itself. Let's start with the gymnasium, Bethany said, walking toward the hallway. I know it's after midnight, but rule number 1 has been updated. I looked at the paper. Rule number 1 now read, never enter the gymnasium after midnight without supervision. You're supervising me, I said. That's right, Bethany replied. Isn't that convenient? I followed her down the hallway, my cart squeaking behind me. I had no choice. With each step, I felt like I was walking deeper into something I couldn't understand, and definitely couldn't escape. The gymnasium doors were already open when we arrived. The lights were on, casting long rectangles of brightness across the polished floor. I'd cleaned this gym 1,000 times, but tonight it looked different. Bigger somehow. Like the walls had been pushed back while I wasn't looking. Start with the bleachers, Bethany said, sitting down on the bottom row. Make sure you get all the gum off the undersides. I'd already cleaned the bleachers earlier in my shift, but I didn't argue. I got down on my hands and knees and started scraping. The gum came off easily, almost like it wanted to be removed. Tell me about Emma, Bethany said. What about her? I asked, not looking up. She's 18, right? Just graduated? Yes. Valedictorian? I stopped scraping. How did you know that? Lucky guess, Bethany said. She's going to State University in the fall, pre-med. Stop talking about my daughter. She wants to be a pediatrician, Bethany continued. She's always been good with kids. Remember when she used to volunteer at the children's hospital? I did remember. Emma had spent every Saturday morning at the hospital, reading to the sick kids. She'd been doing it since she was 14. She stopped going, I said. Why? I didn't answer. I couldn't answer. Emma had stopped volunteering after what happened to little Marcus Clark. The boy had been in the cancer ward and Emma had been reading to him every week for 6 months. Then one Saturday, she came home crying and never went back. She stopped because of Marcus, Bethany said, reading my thoughts. Poor little Marcus, only 7 years old. Shut up, I said. He asked her to read his favorite story one more time. The Very Hungry Caterpillar. Do you know that one, Mr. Kowalski? I stood up, my knees creaking. I said, shut up. She read it to him, and he smiled, and then he closed his eyes and never opened them again, right there in her arms. Stop it. Emma blamed herself. She thought if she hadn't read him that story, maybe he would have lived longer. Maybe he would have fought harder. I grabbed my scraper and threw it across the gymnasium. It hit the far wall with a metallic clang that echoed through the empty space. That's not how it works, I said. That's not how any of this works. Isn't it? Bethany asked. Emma certainly thinks so. That's why she's been having the nightmares. That's why she cries in her sleep. You don't know anything about Emma. I know everything about Emma, Bethany said. Just like I know everything about you. She stood up and walked to the center of the gym. Did you know that Emma almost didn't apply to medical school? She was going to study art instead. She wanted to be a children's book illustrator. That's not true. She changed her mind at the last minute. She decided that if she became a doctor, she could save other kids like Marcus. She could make up for what happened. I picked up my scraper from where it had fallen. Emma's going to be a great doctor. Maybe, Bethany said, if she makes it to college. The threat hung in the air like smoke. I went back to cleaning the bleachers, scraping at spots that were already clean. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the tool. You're a good father, Mr. Kowalski, Bethany said. Working nights so you can pay for Emma's education, sacrificing your sleep, your health, your time with your family, all for her. That's what parents do. Is it? Not all parents. Some parents choose themselves over their children. I thought about my own father, who'd walked out when I was 12, who'd chosen a bottle over his family, who'd died alone in a motel room while I was graduating high school. I'm not like him, I said. No, Bethany agreed. You're not. You're here, cleaning this school at 2 in the morning, because you love your daughter, because you want her to have a better life than you did. That's right. So you'll keep following the rules. I looked at the paper. More rules had appeared. 9. The safety of your family depends on your compliance. 10. This job is more important than you realize. 11. Some sacrifices are necessary. What kind of sacrifices? I asked. The kind that matter, Bethany said. The kind that save the people you love. I finished cleaning the bleachers and moved on to the basketball court. The floor was already spotless, but I mopped it anyway. The rhythm of the work was almost comforting, even under these circumstances. Tell me about your wife, Bethany said. No. Linda, right? You met her at the community college. She was studying to be a nurse. I'm not talking about Linda. She gave up nursing when Emma was born. She wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. I kept mopping, trying to ignore her. She regrets it sometimes, Bethany continued. Wonders what her life would have been like if she'd finished her degree, if she'd chosen her career over her family. Linda loves being a mother. She does, but she also loves you, and she worries about you working these night shifts. She knows they're taking a toll on your health. I'm fine. Are you? When's the last time you had a physical? When's the last time you felt rested? I couldn't remember. Between the night shifts and the day shifts I sometimes picked up for extra money, I was always exhausted. My back hurt constantly, and I'd been getting headaches more often. Linda makes you doctor's appointments, Bethany said, but you keep canceling them. I don't have time. You're afraid, she said. Afraid of what the doctor might find. Afraid that if something's wrong with you, You won't be able to take care of your family." She was right, and I hated her for it. "So you ignore the symptoms," Bethany continued. "The chest pain, the shortness of breath, the dizzy spells. Those are just from being tired." "Are they?" I finished mopping and moved on to the equipment room. The smell of rubber and sweat filled my nostrils, but it was better than the sweet, sick odor that had been coming from the locker. "Rule number 12, Bethany said. I looked at the paper. A new line had appeared. 12. Your health is less important than your duty. "That's not a rule," I said. "That's just cruel." "Cruelty is just another word for necessity," Bethany replied. "You'll understand eventually." I cleaned the equipment room in silence, checking each piece of sports equipment for damage or wear. Everything was in perfect condition, like it had never been used. "We're almost done here," Bethany said. "Just one more area." She pointed to a door I'd never noticed before. It was set into the back wall of the gymnasium, painted the same color as the walls. There was no handle, just a small keyhole. "What's in there?" I asked. "Storage," Bethany said. "Very important storage." She handed me one of the old keys from the ring she'd been holding. It fit perfectly in the lock. "Rule number 13, she said. I looked at the paper. 13. Some doors should stay closed. "Then why are you telling me to open it?" "Because," Bethany said, "sometimes the only way to keep a door closed is to see what's on the other side." I turned the key and pushed open the door. The room beyond was small and dark, lit only by a single bulb hanging from the ceiling. The walls were lined with shelves, and on each shelf sat a glass jar filled with clear liquid. "What is this?" I asked. "Specimens," Bethany said. "Memories, technically. But they look like specimens when you preserve them properly." I stepped closer to the shelves. Inside each jar was something that looked organic, but wrong. Not quite plant, not quite animal. Some of them moved slightly, like they were floating in water. "Each one represents a choice," Bethany explained. "A moment when someone decided to put their family first, or second." I picked up one of the jars. The thing inside looked like a tiny tree, but the branches were too smooth and the leaves were the wrong color. As I watched, it pulsed like a heartbeat. "What happens if someone makes the wrong choice?" I asked. "They end up in here," Bethany said. "Or rather, their love does. The part of them that cared about other people." I set the jar back on the shelf. "And if they make the right choice, they get to go home to their families. They get to keep working their jobs. They get to pretend everything is normal." "What's the right choice?" Bethany smiled. "That depends on the person. For you, Mr. Kowalski, the right choice is simple. Keep cleaning. Keep following the rules. Keep your mouth shut about what you've seen tonight. And if I don't, then Emma doesn't get to go to college. Then Linda doesn't get to wake up tomorrow morning. Then you join the collection." She gestured to the jars. Some of these people had children too. They thought they were protecting their families by refusing to cooperate. They were wrong. I stared at the shelves. There had to be hundreds of jars. Hundreds of people who'd made the wrong choice. "What is this place?" I asked. "Roosevelt High School," Bethany said. "What did you think it was?" "I mean, what is it really?" "Really?" Bethany laughed. "Really, it's a school. Kids come here to learn. Teachers come here to teach. You come here to clean. Everything else is just details." "Details like you?" "I'm not a detail," she said. "I'm management." We left the storage room, and Bethany locked it behind us. The gymnasium felt normal again, just another room in just another school, but I knew I'd never look at it the same way. "What's next?" I asked. "The cafeteria," Bethany said, "and then the library, and then the second-floor classrooms, just like every other night. Except tonight isn't like every other night. Isn't it? She asked. You're doing the same job you've always done, following the same routine. The only difference is that now you know why it matters. We walked through the hallways, past the trophy case I wasn't supposed to look at, past the stairs to the third floor I wasn't supposed to climb. Everything looked exactly the same as it had for the past 8 years. How long has this been going on? I asked. Since the school opened, Bethany said. 1987. 38 years of night janitors. 38 years of rules. What happened to the others? Some retired, some quit, some made the wrong choice, and some joined your collection. The collection serves a purpose, Bethany said. It reminds people what they're working for, what they stand to lose. We reached the cafeteria. The smell of tomorrow's lunch lingered in the air, mixed with industrial cleaning supplies. I'd cleaned this room thousands of times, but tonight felt different. Tonight, I noticed things I'd never seen before, like the way the lunch tables were arranged in perfect rows, even though the students always left them scattered. Like the way the serving line was spotless, even though I hadn't cleaned it yet tonight. Like the way the clock on the wall showed 2:47 a.m., even though it had been broken for 3 years. Time works differently here, Bethany said, noticing my stare, especially during the night shift. How differently? However it needs to work. Sometimes the night lasts longer than 8 hours. Sometimes it lasts shorter. Sometimes it lasts forever. I started mopping the cafeteria floor, even though it was already clean. The motion helped me think, helped me process what was happening to me. Why me? I asked. Because you're perfect, Bethany said. You have something worth protecting. You have something to lose. You have skin in the game. And the others? The janitors before me? They were perfect too, until they weren't. I finished mopping and moved on to wiping down the tables. Each one was identical, scarred with years of teenage carelessness. Initials carved into the wood, gum stuck to the undersides, mysterious stains that never quite came clean. Tell me about the rules, I said. What about them? Where do they come from? Who writes them? The school writes them, Bethany said. The building itself. It knows what it needs to function properly. Buildings don't need janitors to follow supernatural rules. This building does. This building is special. Special how? Bethany was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was softer than before. Do you know what happened here before it was a school? She asked. It was farmland. The Morrison family owned it for generations. That's right. The Morrison family. My family. I stopped wiping and looked at her. You're Bethany Morrison, the girl who died in the fire. Very good, she said. I was wondering when you'd make the connection. Everyone in town knew the story. In 1985, the Morrison farmhouse had burned down with the entire family inside. Parents, grandparents, and 16-year-old Bethany Morrison, who'd been valedictorian of her class and was supposed to start college that fall. You died, I said. Did I? Bethany asked. Or did I just change jobs? You're dead. I'm employed, just like you. I sat down at one of the tables. My legs felt weak, and my head was spinning. You're a ghost, I said. I'm management, she corrected. The school needed someone to oversee the night shift, someone who understood the importance of education, someone who had skin in the game. You don't have any skin in the game. You're dead. I have you, she said. I have all the janitors. I have all the people who work here at night. You're my responsibility. And if something happens to us, then I join the collection too. I looked at her with new eyes. The pale skin, the two bright eyes, the way she moved without making sound. She wasn't just supernatural, she was trapped. How long have you been doing this? I asked. Since the school opened, since they built it on top of my family's graves. And you've been alone all this time? Not alone. I have the night shift workers. I have the rules. I have purpose. That's not the same as having a family. No, she agreed. It's not. For the first time since I'd met her, Bethany looked sad. Not threatening or mysterious, just sad. Like a 16-year-old girl who'd lost everything and was trying to make the best of it. What happens if I follow all the rules? I asked. You get to go home to your family. You get to keep working. You get to live your life. And if I don't? Then you become part of the school, part of the system, part of the collection. And Emma? Emma gets to go to college, or she doesn't. Depends on your choice. I finished cleaning the cafeteria and moved on to the library. The books sat quietly on their shelves, waiting for tomorrow's students. I'd always liked the library. It was peaceful, even during the day when it was full of kids. This is my favorite room, Bethany said. Why? Because it's full of stories, other people's lives, other people's choices. She pulled a book from one of the shelves. It was a worn copy of The Very Hungry Caterpillar, the same book Emma had been reading to Marcus. Do you think she blames herself? Bethany asked. For what? For Marcus dying, for not being able to save him. Emma was just a volunteer. She was a kid herself. But she felt responsible. She felt like she should have been able to do something. I took the book from her hands. The pages were soft with age, and some of the pictures were faded. She was reading this to him when he died, I said. I know. How do you know? Because Emma comes here sometimes, late at night. She sits in the parking lot and cries. What? She drives over here when she can't sleep. She sits in her car and looks at the building and remembers Marcus. She thinks about all the kids she couldn't save. That's not possible. Emma's at home. She's sleeping. Is she? Bethany asked. When's the last time you checked on her at night? I thought about it. I worked the night shift, so I left for work after Emma went to bed and came home after she left for school. I hadn't seen her sleep in months. She's been having nightmares, I said. About Marcus? About dying children. About not being able to help them. She's afraid, Bethany said. Afraid that she'll fail as a doctor. Afraid that she'll lose patients the way she lost Marcus. That's normal. All doctors worry about that. Is it normal for her to drive to the place where her father works in the middle of the night? Is it normal for her to sit in her car and plan ways to hurt herself? My stomach dropped. What are you talking about? Emma's been coming here for weeks. She parks by the loading dock and thinks about ending her pain. She thinks about joining Marcus. You're lying. Am I? Bethany asked. Check your phone. Check the app that tracks her location. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands. Emma and I shared our locations with each other for safety reasons. I pulled up the app and saw her icon. She wasn't at home. She was here, in the school parking lot. No, I said. No, that's not possible. Look outside, Bethany said. I ran to the library windows and looked out at the parking lot. There was Emma's car, a blue Honda Civic that I'd helped her buy with my overtime money. She was sitting in the driver's seat, completely still. Emma, I shouted, banging on the window. She can't hear you, Bethany said. And you can't get to her. The doors are locked, remember? Let me out, I said. Let me go to my daughter. I can't do that. Why not? Because if you leave now, if you break the rules, then Emma's pain becomes permanent. She becomes part of the collection. She becomes another jar on the shelf. I stared out at my daughter's car. She was holding something in her hands, but I couldn't see what it was. What does she have? I asked. Pills, Bethany said. A bottle of pills she took from your medicine cabinet, the ones you got for your back pain. She's going to overdose. Maybe. Or maybe she's just thinking about it. The choice is still hers to make. I have to help her. You can help her, Bethany said. by finishing your job, by following the rules, by showing her that some sacrifices are worth making. I turned away from the window. I couldn't watch my daughter contemplate suicide while I was trapped in this building with a dead girl and a collection of magical rules. "This is insane," I said. "This is life," Bethany replied. "This is what it means to be responsible for someone else's future. What do you want from me? I want you to clean the library. I want you to follow the rules. I want you to trust that doing the right thing will lead to the right outcome. And if it doesn't? Then Emma joins the collection. Then Linda wakes up to find her family destroyed. Then you spend eternity wondering if you could have saved them." I looked at the rule paper. More rules had appeared. 14. Your daughter's life depends on your choices. 15. Love requires sacrifice. 16. The only way out is through. "How many more rules are there?" I asked. "As many as it takes," Bethany said. I started cleaning the library, dusting shelves and organizing books. Outside, Emma remained in her car, still holding the bottle of pills. I couldn't see her face clearly, but I could imagine her expression. Lost. Hopeless. Blaming herself for something that was never her fault. "Tell me how this ends," I said. "That depends on you," Bethany said. "I mean, tell me how it really ends. What happens after tonight? If you follow all the rules, you go home. Emma goes to college. Linda gets to keep her family. You get to keep your job. And if I don't? Then the collection gets 3 new editions. What about you? What about me? Do you get to rest? Do you get to move on?" Bethany was quiet for a long moment. "I don't know," she said finally. "I've never had a janitor follow all the rules before. Never. Never. They always break eventually. They always choose themselves over their families. Maybe they didn't understand what was at stake. Maybe they understood perfectly. Maybe they just couldn't handle the pressure." I finished dusting the last shelf and moved on to vacuuming the library carpet. The machine was loud, but I could still hear Bethany talking. "The hardest part," she said, "is knowing that you're trapped, that no matter what you do, someone you love is going to suffer." "What do you mean?" "The rules aren't just about following orders," she said. "They're about choosing who gets hurt, your family or yourself, your daughter or your wife, your present or your future." "I don't understand." "You will. Before the night is over, you'll understand exactly what I mean." I turned off the vacuum and looked at her. "What else do I have to do?" "One more room," she said. "The most important room." "Which room?" "The principal's office." "That's not part of my usual route." "Tonight it is." She handed me a key I'd never seen before. It was newer than the others, with a plastic tag that read, "Administrative Access." "Rule number 17, she said. I looked at the paper. 17. Some secrets are worth keeping. What kind of secrets? The kind that keep schools running. The kind that keep families together. The kind that keep night janitors employed. We walked through the hallways toward the administrative wing. I'd been in the principal's office before, but only during the day, and only when I was in trouble for something. Tonight felt different. Tonight felt like I was about to cross a line I couldn't uncross. "Bethany," I said. "Yes? Are you really 16? I was 16 when I died. I've been 16 for 38 years. Do you miss it? Being alive?" "Every day. But missing something doesn't mean you get to have it back." "What do you miss most?" "My family. My future. The chance to grow up and make my own choices. And now you're trapped here, managing the night shift." "I'm not trapped," she said. "I'm employed. There's a difference." "Is there?" "There has to be. If there isn't, then everything I've done for 38 years has been meaningless." We reached the principal's office. The door was heavy oak with a brass nameplate that read Principal Martinez. I slid the key into the lock and turned it. The office was exactly as I'd expected. Diplomas on the walls, photos of students on the desk, filing cabinets full of important paperwork. But there was something else. Something that didn't belong. On the back wall, behind Principal Martinez's desk, was another door. This one was metal, with no nameplate or decoration. It looked like it led to a storage closet, but I had a feeling it led somewhere else entirely. "What's behind that door?" I asked. "The real reason you're here," Bethany said. "The real reason any of us are here." "And what's that?" "Open it and find out." I walked to the metal door and tried the handle. It was locked. "Key," Bethany said, handing me another old key from her collection. I opened the door and stepped inside. The room beyond was nothing like what I'd expected. It was huge, much bigger than the office, with a high ceiling and walls covered in monitors. Each screen showed a different part of the school. The hallways, the classrooms, the gymnasium, the cafeteria, the library, and the parking lot. On one of the screens, I could see Emma's car. She was still sitting in the driver's seat, still holding the bottle of pills. But now I could see her face clearly. She was crying. "This is a surveillance room," I said. "This is a monitoring station," Bethany corrected. "We keep track of everything that happens in and around the school." "Who's we?" "The management, the administration, the people who make sure everything runs smoothly." "You mean the people who make sure the rules are followed?" "Among other things." I walked closer to the monitors. There were dozens of them, showing every possible angle of the school. But there were also screens showing other places, other schools, other parking lots, other night janitors cleaning other buildings. "How many schools are there?" I asked. "Hundreds," Bethany said. "Maybe thousands. Every town needs a school. Every school needs a night janitor. Every night janitor needs rules. And every school has someone like you? Someone like me. Someone who died young and got recruited into management. This is a system, a network. It's a business," Bethany said. "The most important business in the world." "What business?" "Education, the future, making sure that the next generation has what they need to succeed. By terrorizing janitors. By motivating them. By giving them a reason to care about their work. By making sure they understand the stakes." I stared at the monitors. On one screen, I saw another janitor, an older man with gray hair, mopping a hallway in what looked like a middle school. On another, a woman was cleaning a high school chemistry lab. They all looked tired. They all looked scared. "How long has this been going on?" I asked. "Since the beginning of public education. Since the first school opened and the first janitor was hired to clean it. And no one knows? The people who matter know. The people who make the decisions. The people who allocate the funding. What do they get out of it? Clean schools, motivated staff, students who succeed. And what do you get out of it? Purpose, employment, a reason to exist." I looked at the screen showing Emma's car. She'd opened the bottle of pills and was holding it up to the light, counting the contents. "Let me go to her," I said. "Not yet. We're not finished." "What else is there?" "The final choice. The last rule." She pointed to a chair in the center of the room. It was connected to dozens of wires and cables, all leading to a large computer console. "What is that?" I asked. "A direct interface. A way to connect with the system. A way to become part of the network." "You want me to sit in that chair?" "I want you to make a choice. Sit in the chair and become part of the system permanently. Give up your life, your family, your future. But guarantee that Emma gets to go to college, that Linda gets to keep her husband, that the next generation of students gets the education they deserve. Or walk away. Go home to your family, live your life, and watch as the system collapses. Watch as schools close. Watch as kids grow up without education. Watch as Emma's generation inherits a world that can't teach them what they need to know. That's not a choice. That's extortion. That's life. That's what it means to be responsible for something bigger than yourself. I looked at the monitors again. All those schools, all those janitors, all those students depending on a system they didn't even know existed. What happens to Emma if I choose the chair? She goes to college. She becomes a doctor. She saves lives. She forgets about Marcus and focuses on the future. And if I don't? She takes the pills, tonight, in the parking lot, while you're at work, unable to save her. You're lying. Am I? Bethany walked to the console and pressed a button. The audio from the parking lot camera came through the speakers. I could hear Emma talking to herself, her voice broken and desperate. I can't do this anymore, she was saying. I can't pretend that I'm going to be okay. I can't pretend that I'm going to save anyone. Emma, I whispered. I'm sorry, Marcus, she continued. I'm sorry I couldn't save you. I'm sorry I can't save anyone. Turn it off, I said. She's gonna take the pills, Bethany said. Unless you sit in that chair, unless you become part of the system, unless you save her by sacrificing yourself. There has to be another way. There is no other way. There are only choices and consequences. I looked at the chair. It didn't look particularly threatening, just a regular office chair with some extra equipment. But I knew that if I sat in it, I'd never get up again. I'd become part of the system, part of the network, part of whatever was keeping these schools running. What happens to my body? I asked. It disappears. Your family gets a phone call saying you had an accident at work. They get a life insurance payout. They get to move on with their lives. And my consciousness? You become part of the network. You monitor the schools. You help manage the night shift workers. You make sure the system keeps running. Like you? Like me, but different. I manage one school. You'd manage dozens, maybe hundreds. Why? Because you're perfect for it. Because you understand sacrifice. Because you love your family enough to give up everything for them. I walked to the chair and sat down. The moment I made contact with the seat, I felt something change. The room became brighter. The monitors became clearer. I could hear conversations from every school in the network. Rule number 18, Bethany said. I looked at the paper. The final rule had appeared. 18. Love means letting go. I love Emma, I said. I know. I love Linda. I know. I love my family more than I love myself. That's why you're perfect for this job. I felt the chair beginning to bond with my body. Wires and cables began to attach themselves to my arms and legs. It didn't hurt, but I could feel my connection to the physical world starting to fade. Will I be able to see them? I asked. Sometimes, when they visit schools, when they pass by surveillance cameras, when they need to feel that someone who loves them is watching over them. Will they know I'm there? They'll know they're loved. They'll know they're protected. They'll know that someone sacrificed everything to keep them safe. That's enough, I said. Is it? I thought about Emma, sitting in her car with a bottle of pills. I thought about Linda, sleeping at home, unaware that her husband was about to disappear forever. I thought about all the students who would attend Roosevelt High and all the other schools in the network. Yes, I said. It's enough. The transformation was complete. I felt my consciousness expand, connecting to hundreds of schools across the country. I could see thousands of students, hundreds of night janitors, dozens of management personnel like Bethany. Welcome to the network, Bethany said. Welcome to the most important job in the world. On the monitor, I watched Emma put the bottle of pills back in her glove compartment. She wiped her eyes, started her car, and drove home. She would go to college. She would become a doctor. She would save lives. Linda would wake up in the morning to find that her husband had died in an accident at work. She would grieve, but she would survive. She would use the life insurance money to finish her nursing degree. She would find love again, eventually. And I would watch over them both, forever, from my place in the network. The rules were simple, after all. Love means sacrifice. Family comes first. Some prices are worth paying. I was no longer Vince Kowalski, night janitor at Roosevelt High School. I was something new, something necessary, something that would make sure the next generation had what they needed to succeed. The system was working exactly as designed, and I was finally, truly home.